On your Monday episode of Locked On Raptors, there's a 7.5% chance your life and my life change forever tonight.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Monday, May the 12th, the day you've all been waiting for, draft lottery night. And I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. And you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. As always, 100% free to join our listener community. Going to be a great place to be tonight when the balls are drawn and all the reactions going down. We'll have more on the way you can watch the show and me on various platforms tonight as well a little bit later on in the show. But today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And we're off and running here on a big day here on the podcast. We are setting the stage for the draft lottery, which goes down tonight. Big one, the most chaotic and stupid night of the NBA calendar. And there's a 7.5% chance that you and I are about to have our worlds rocked by the Raptors moving up to the position to draft one Cooper Flagg. I think there's also a very good chance our lives change quite a bit if the Raptors move to number 2 as well. Dylan Harper's very good. He's probably got the second best chance of anyone in this class of being a franchise player, an all-NBA type guy. But Cooper Flagg is, to me, the surest thing you're going to find. He's one of the best college prospects in quite some time, and it's very exciting. We're going to get into Cooper Flagg as he tops my big board, my pre-lottery big board, my last big board. I'll run through a top 10 a little bit later on in the show. We'll also get into some preemptive coping mechanisms, looking around the league, looking at the playoffs, and looking at a specific team that can maybe soothe your pain and despair if the Toronto Raptors do in fact not move up tonight. But let's just get into, for one last time while we can, what the world looks like going forward if the Raptors do in fact move in to the top spot of the draft. Again, second, I think, is also very much in this umbrella as well. 3 through 10, a lot more fluid, but 1 and 2, as we talked about on Friday with our pal Raphael Barlow, you can go listen to that episode. Those two guys have very clearly distinguished themselves from the rest of this year's class. Cooper Flagg, number 1, Dylan Harper, number 2. What does it mean for the team if the Raptors go and win the draft lottery tonight for the rest of this offseason? And just to start there, let alone all the many future ramifications that will come from Cooper Flagg being on the Toronto Raptors. I mean, more national relevance, more national TV games, more eyeballs, obviously a bit of a clearer track towards contention in the years to come as well. Those are all there. But this summer, I mean, the impact of getting a Cooper Flagg type guy on your team starts this summer. As soon as you put him on your team, as soon as he signs that entry-level deal, all of a sudden, you're on the clock with one of the best advantages you can have in team building, which is having a potential star player on a rookie contract. And it's not to say he's going to be a guarantee, because no prospects are, but based on the track record, there's a very real chance here that Cooper Flagg is giving you star production at some point during his rookie deal. And so the work begins immediately on trying to optimize that. And the nice thing is that with the Brandon Ingram trade, the Raptors have already kind of gotten a lot of that work done. There's an infrastructure in place here where if Cooper Flagg comes in, he doesn't have to be the sort of the guy who carries the entire burden for the offense right away. He can be someone who eases in, who comes already with a package that is going to allow him to fill gaps alongside other good players. We know the defense is very legit, and he might have a shot of being a good defender from day one. It's very rare you see that, but he's an elite defensive prospect, ridiculous athlete, all that stuff. It's a very real chance he gives you positive defensive production as a rookie, which obviously would help bolster the defensive progress the team made over the course of the back half of this last year. I've talked a lot about how they need reinforcements for that. They can't just rest on their laurels and say, hey, we're good at defense now. You got to get more defensive reinforcements, and Cooper Flagg is about as reinforced a guy you could possibly add to this defense going forward. And look, the big thing is that if you jump up to number 1 and get Cooper Flagg, the team gets expensive right away. this is the thing. This is the sort of the tax concerns I've been talking about on the show for months now, when we've talked about potential RJ Barrett trades or offloading Ochai Agbaji or finding other ways to shed salary. It all comes into focus if the Raptors move up in tonight's lottery, not just to number one, but anywhere in the top four. It's going to push that rookie scale deal to the point where this is going to be a team that has to make the decision before next season or the end of next season, whether or not they want to pay the tax next season. And so that's where the RJ Barrett thing comes in. He's the most easily moved of the guys on big contracts on this team, closest to the end of his deal, less obviously entrenched as one of the core members of the team. You have, of course, Ochai Agbaji, who's up for an extension this summer and may get a little pricey and maybe price himself out if the team is looking to dodge the tax, or they can just make the decision to pay the tax. And if you go back to Masai Ujiri's press conference at the end of the season, he was asked about the tax and was asked and basically said, yeah, like, if we think the talent is here to pay the tax, we'll pay the tax. Like, we have the money, it's all there. You know, we just have to have the right talent in house, was essentially the crux of his quote. And I do wonder, if you get a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper, does that satisfy that stipulation from Masai Ujiri? Does that say, hey, like, this is the talent we have. We're going to go into the year. We believe in this team now that we've added this top end talent to our roster. This is a team we're comfortable paying the tax for. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, it would make some concessions necessary from guys like RJ Barrett when it comes to starting versus coming off the bench and all of that, role in the hierarchy, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, you know, if you do get a Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, to me, it gets really easy to sell yourself on just paying this whole team to come into next year with as much talent as possible, as much lineup versatility and different guys who can occupy different roles and depth and injury insurance as possible, to just make an honest go at it in year one with Cooper Flagg on the team. You're not going to win a championship or anything like that, but can you be a really nasty potential play-in team or playoff team, that is, with Cooper Flagg in the mix and the rest of this roster still intact? I think that's totally there. You know, you end up with a roster where I like the concept of this, where you have like a starting five that's quickly Ingram, Cooper Flagg, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. If you get Dylan Harper, you swap in Harper for Flagg in that spot, slide Ingram down to the three. And then your bench, in either situation, you've got RJ Barrett, Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji, Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo, Jamison Battle. Like, that's the beginnings of a really interesting rotation. Maybe you can convince a guy like Chris Boucher to come back for cheap if you're going to be paying the tax anyway and don't mind bringing him back and paying him whatever it's going to take. All of a sudden, you go into next team with that team, a guy in Flagg who projects to be, I think, at least a positive contributor as a rookie. It's a tough ask again, but the best guys often do to turn in positive production, especially when they're not overburdened with being the guy on their new team, which Flagg certainly would not be. You know, again, Harper, I think, is just sort of a dulled down version of all of these sort of hypotheticals. But you know, you've got injury insurance, like I said. You've got guys who are no longer spread too thin and overly burdensome roles. You get a guy like RJ Barrett, who, instead of being this sort of maybe underqualified third option in the starting five, gets to be like an overqualified sixth man. That sounds pretty fun. You've got lineup versatility. You can go small and play, you know, Cooper Flagg and Scotty Barnes as this really nasty athletic 4-5, fill out lineups that going the other way with more shooting and all of that. I think there's a lot you can do with that roster, and it might just be worth paying the tax for. I'm paying the tax like on that side of the aisle anyway. This is not my money. I don't care. And you know, obviously there are sort of drawbacks to paying the tax as well. But if it allows you to keep a team together that you haven't even seen yet to get a real earnest look, I don't think there's a problem going into the season being over the tax. And again, you can always duck the tax before the trade deadline and not pay the tax at the end of the season. The tax bill comes due at the end of the year, not the start of it. And so if it's not working out, or, you know, RJ Barrett's fit is uncertain, or someone else's fit is uncertain, you can always try and make a move to shed money before the deadline and then just kind of recalibrate, knowing that you have Cooper Flagg on your team. I think that's probably the move here. But either way, a lot changes tonight for the Raptors if they get lucky enough to move up to number one. Again, just to set the stage of the odds, 7.5% chance at number one, 7.8% chance at number two, 8.1% chance at number three, 8.5% chance at number four. Then on down to number seven, 19.7% chance. The most likely landing spot is number eight, a 34.1% chance, and then a 12.9% chance at number nine, and a piddly 1.3% chance at number 10, which would suck, no doubt about it. You don't want to fall all the way to 10. We'll get into 10 prospects I quite like in just 1 second here as we continue the show. But before we do that, I have resisted the urge to do this because I find that it's it's playing with the fates a little bit. But I'm gonna do a tankathon spin for you guys because why not? It's the day of. Might as well manifest some positive energy or some negative energy. I don't know how this is gonna go, but let's do it, shall we? We've got the tankathon lottery machine brought up on screen for those watching on YouTube, and I'm just gonna give this a little spin right now to see where the Raptors wind up. One spin, no redos. Here we go. Sim lottery. Number 2. Look at that. All right. I'm leaving it there. The Raptors are picking second. I've predicted it. You see, one little snapshot of lottery odds over the course of thousands and thousands of possible combinations ends up with the Raptors at number 2. So yeah, Dylan Harper, I'm all in. That sounds great. Either way, before I disrupt the good vibes, we're going to continue and get into my big board, my final pre-lottery big board, the last board on which we get to dream about Cooper Flagg being a Toronto Raptor or Dylan Harper, unless that lottery prediction comes true. Thanks to our friends over at Tankathon. Either way, we'll get to my big board coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. Get some food, get some chicken as a result of a guy presumably turning everyone who defends him into barbecue chicken over the course of an NBA game. That sounds pretty sweet. Here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order and code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Back at it here, taking a look now at my pre-lottery big board. Before we dive into that and my sort of last loose ranking of my top 10 favorite prospects in this draft, just a reminder, lots of ways to interact with the show tonight, 6:30 on this channel, on the Locked On Raptors YouTube channel, that is. If you're watching on video, if you're listening on audio, you're going to want to be on the YouTube channel tonight. We'll be going live with the Locked On NBA host, the Sad Sack Lottery host on the NBA Squad Show from 6:30 until the results are in. Basically, we're on there until our team comes up on the board. Then we get booted out of it. And so looking forward to that. And hopefully, I'm around for quite some time until the Raptors come up at number 1 or number 2, like they just did on that spin. And so that's going to be on the channel at 6:30. Then at 7:30, myself, Vivek Jacob, will do a full lottery reaction show, and we'll probably pivot into a little Q&A after the show proper as well, just for the YouTube people. So please come hang out. It'd be lovely to see you in there. Join the comments, be in the chat, be nice, be friendly, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's what you have to look forward to tonight. Lots of draft lottery coverage. This is like our Super Bowl, baby. This is the biggest day of the year. Let's get to it. My pre-lottery big board for your Toronto Raptors. Again, this is sort of a ranking mostly of like how I view all these prospects, but even more specifically, how I view these prospects for the Toronto Raptors, what they need, how their roster's built, the style of player they're looking for, all of that. And so let's get to it. My pre-lottery big board. Number 1, obviously, Cooper Flagg. Very good. We've covered it extensively. He's the real deal. He's got the goods. You can listen to Friday's podcast with myself and Raphael as we dug into just what makes Cooper Flagg an excellent top of the board prospect. And then number 2, of course, your future Toronto Raptor point guard, Dylan Harper. I think that one too is pretty much consensus across the board. I don't think I've seen anyone deign to put someone else at number 2. And at this point, I think just based on what I've seen, what I've read, the numbers, everything, it does feel like if you're trying to get cute with that 1-2, you're just sort of doing it for contrarian sake, which, hey, I'm not opposed to that as like a way to make a living. Sometimes I dabble myself, but I think it's pretty clearly Flagg, Harper, 1-2. If the Raptors get one of those guys, man, oh man, things get real interesting real quick. Let's get to number 3. I think this is maybe where I'm sort of going the most out on a limb is my 3 and 4 spots. But I think really the reason I have these guys at 3 and 4, not even that I think they're like necessarily the most surefire prospects going. I think just the upside and the potential fit on this team for what they need going forward are the guys. These are the two guys who kind of check those boxes for me the most. Number 3, I have Khaman Maluach, who I know, has its detractors because of what happened in the Final Four where he didn't grab a rebound, and that's been a big thing. Oh no, he didn't grab a rebound in one game. I don't care, man. A guy who's 7'2" with a 7'6" wingspan, who I think, based on watching him, is mobile enough not to be like your classic switch big who's switching on to smalls and sliding his feet beautifully, but I think is mobile enough to be scheme versatile, can play at the level of the screen on defense and really just obstruct things with his length. And I think because he's got such like mobile ground coverage, the way he just kind of can take a couple of steps and get back to his spot or gain ground on someone who's maybe turned the corner on him. I think he's going to be usable in a whole lot of different defensive schemes. I think he's going to be a very modern NBA big man defender. And I think the baseline for him on offense, if he is only the guy who caught and dunked every single lob thrown his way this year, who was an incredible roll gravity threat, a guy who sucked in the defense. I even shared a couple of clips in my newsletter when that was still going of, examples of Khaman Maluach's roll gravity, opening up wide open threes for guys like Cooper Flagg, the guy who ostensibly should be the lead, kind of target of every defense's attention. Khaman Maluach is such a threat rolling to the rim with his size and his ability to dunk that he would just like bring the other guy's defenders with him and leave Cooper Flagg or Con Knipple or whomever else wide open for looks from deep. Like that's a really impressive skill to have. I think it's a thing that is something the Raptors don't really have right now. Jakob Poeltl, for all of his dexterity as a short roll big and his push shots and everything, having a dude who can just throw down yams on lobs, I think would be so helpful for just everyone on this team. And I think the defensive upside with Maluach is so high that I'm willing to bank on, even if the offense is like baseline level, he only really dunks for you and it's just like is a solid role man. I think the defense can be good enough that it's totally worth a pick that high. It's also an upside play too, because I think between his free throw shooting, which, low volume, but he shot like 77% from the line, and just the sort of stuff you hear from the Jonathan Givony types, the people who cover the draft a lot, talking about what his shot looks like just in terms of form and how much he's working on it. He's also 18 years old. I think, it's always tough to bank on guys who didn't shoot in college, actually shooting in college. These are always very outlier developmental tracks. But if you're drafting near the top of the draft, you have a chance at getting those outlier guys. And I think there's an outside chance that Khaman Maluach becomes a big with stretch. And if that's the case, if Maluach figures out how to bang threes, all of a sudden you're looking at a guy who could be like a prototypical modern NBA big man, one of the hardest and most valuable things to find in the NBA today. And so I think it's worthwhile as a swing at number 3, even if he ends up more as just like a traditional Tyson Chandler type, backline defender, anchor of a defense who just finishes on the roll and gets easy buckets around the cup. Either way, he's my number 3. Number 4, Jeremiah Fierce from Oklahoma. We talked about him with Rafael Barlow, who also has him at number 4 on his personal board. And I think the upside play with him, the ball handling, the creation, the free throw shooting that might translate to more, the mid-range shooting that might translate to more. He's still very raw. He's super young. He's one of these guys who reclassified as well. I feel very good about Jeremiah Fierce, kind of having a shot of hitting those higher end outcomes that I think you'd be taking him for. Again, I think the Raptors swinging for upside in this draft is a really good idea. He's number 4 for me. Number 5, I have Ace Bailey. He's risen a spot. I swapped him and VJ Edgecombe from my last board. I think just the size thing with Ace Bailey gets me. I think the shooting talent is really impressive. And I still continue to think he's a very good defensive prospect. And I am not someone who thinks he's the second coming of Tracy McGrady. I don't think he's got the handle or the on-ball creativity or frankly, the playmaking chops or just sort of passing feel to be a star in the NBA. I think he just has a chance to be an excellent on every good team's radar as a guy you want, type of role player, a 6'10" dude who can defend and bang threes. That sounds pretty awesome to me. And with this draft maybe being lighter on clear star talent or upside after those top 2 guys, I think getting a guy who's going to be a surefire NBA role player, if a couple things fall into place, I'm very into that. So Ace Bailey, number 5 for me. VJ Edgecombe, I have at 6. I find him to be very similar in terms of archetype to Ace Bailey. In terms of like, I think his role is going to be nice defense, like two-way 3-and-D type guy who throws down cool dunks and has beautiful flashes of athleticism and skill, but for the most part is just like a really, really excellent role player. I just gave Ace Bailey the nod here at number 5 over Edgecombe, just because I think the size matters more, and the Raptors already have so many two guards, so many on the roster. So yeah, that's where I differ from where I felt last time when I had Edgecombe ahead of Bailey 5 and 6. Now, number 7, I have Noah Esenge. Talked about him in a YouTube exclusive video with Raphael that I dropped today on the YouTube channel. If you want to go check that out on the YouTube, it's yeah, I mean, I'm really in on the idea of a 6'9", 6'10" wing who has, you know, soft skills and can dunk real loud and might be a multi-positional defender, might have some rim protection chops, an event creator on defense. I really, really like Esenge. I think his style as a player is extremely fun to watch. He's very funky. He's got this cool sort of cadence and rhythm to how he plays. I'm super into Esenge, and I think the Raptors probably would be too, considering his archetype. He's an extremely Raptors guy. I have him at number 7. Number 8, I have Khaman Maluach, someone who I've been kind of resisting the urge to rank highly, but, you know, he just seems like a rock-solid basketball player, man. Pretty big, 6'6", 6'7". He's got some size defensively that's, you know, he's not going to get pushed around. And the three-point shooting is very real. We saw him run pick and roll beautifully with Khaman Maluach as well this season. A big reason why Maluach was able to just rack up a million buckets at the rim was Khaman Maluach's lob passing and pick and roll creation. And so I'm kind of into it there at number 8. Number 9, I have Derik Queen out of Maryland, the 6'9", 6'10" big man who really want to like more. Like, I love cool big men who play in the post and work as hubs and throw cool passes. I'm worried about the actual sort of playmaking chops. I think the assist to turnover ratio, it's a negative assist to turnover ratio. That's not ideal. I think the fact that he's a little bit small and might be too small to be a functional big man defender. Like, if you're 6'9", 6'10", can you even play in a drop coverage, like the most basic NBA defense? I'm not totally sure. And I also think the lack of three-point shooting on this team, pairing him next to Scotty Barnes, I think you're setting Derik Queen up to fail by putting him on the Raptors. I think you're setting a lot of these guys up to fail if you're sort of centering the team around Derik Queen as well. I think of this of a lot of these guys in this draft, on the right team, a lot of these guys are going to be damn good NBA players. I just don't think it's going to happen in every situation for everybody, because all these guys have very specific skill sets. And so I'm a little more down on Derik Queen. I think on pure talent, he's probably closer to 5 or 6 for me, but the fit with the Raptors, I think you have to bake fit into these things. I know best player available, but I mean, like, fit matters. If a guy's in a bad fit situation, it's going to be harder for him to develop into the guy that you want him to be. That's very much how I feel about Derik Queen with this team. And then 10, I have Trey Johnson. I went back and forth between him and Asa Newell, the big man out of Georgia, who I still think is like a worthwhile bet, especially if you're trying to look at bigs who might one day shoot threes effectively. Newell's far from complete there, but I think there's something there with the way the jump shot looks, and his, you know, defensive mobility and lob finishing and stuff like that, I think is all pretty interesting as well. But Trey Johnson, I mean, at some point you just got to go with the guy who has the shot making talent. I think Trey Johnson's going to end up being like an excellent off-ball shooter type in the NBA, a movement shooter, a guy that you run stuff for, fly off of screens, JJ Redick style, honestly. Like, he's that good of a shooter. I think he has a lot of trouble getting to the rim. I think he has a lot of trouble playmaking. And so I'm not taking him thinking he's going to be some kind of offensive engine type. I'm really looking at Trey Johnson as an excellent off-ball player who, if all else fails, if you end up 10th in the draft and he's there, I'm fine with that pick as just more shooting into the mix. You figure it out. He's a little bit bigger than some of their existing two guards, not by much, but a little bit. And he's a nice prospect to add to the mix, talent-wise, shot-making-wise, even if he's not my cup of tea as a player. And I don't think he's got that sort of on-ball creation juice and upside that I think the Raptors should really be swinging for here. Either way, that's the top 10 big board going into tonight. Obviously, we'll have many more big boards, and hopefully, I mean, if they end up picking number 1, maybe we don't do big boards. We just talk about Cooper Flagg for a month and a half, and we have the greatest time of our lives. But if they're picking 7, 8, 9, there will be many, many big boards to come. There's no doubt about it. We're going to come back into the side, close things out with just some thoughts on a team in the playoffs that, to me, is serving as some copium. When I look at what they do, and I look at what the Raptors have going on, yes, it'd be great if they won the lottery, but there's still a pathway for the Raptors if they don't. We do copium to close out the show in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and you start building wealth. I am someone who has a lot of accounts because my wife and I have a shared mortgage account, a shared savings account. I have my own personal accounts. I have American accounts because I get paid in American dollars. It's all over the damn place. And having Monarch Money, just to put all those accounts in one place so I can see where my money is going and from where, is an absolute game-changing piece of tech. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for $50, 50% that is off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Hungry Root, where, look, grocery shopping, I like doing it generally. I like the process of going to the store and checking out the aisles and seeing what the new stuff is and all of that, but it's really hard. There's a lot going on. It's busy times, and it's only about to get busier for me. I'm about to have a kid. There's not going to be a whole lot of opportunity to just go and meander around the store for a couple hours while I try to craft the next week's worth of meals. Don't got to do that because Hungry Root is here to help. Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning and offer personalized recommendations based on your taste and health goals. They tailor your orders based on what you like or don't like. It gets smarter every single time. They have high quality, nutritious food. It's awesome. Gives you more time for workouts or family or taking care of a newborn, etc., etc. Take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a free item for life and 40% off. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Never pay for spinach again, baby. Wrapping things up here on your Monday lottery stage setting episode of Locked On Raptors with just some thoughts on a team right now that's looking damn good. They're up 3-1 over the Cleveland Cavaliers, a 64-win basketball team. Your, of course, beautiful Indiana Pacers, led by Tyrese Halliburton and our dear friend, Pascal Siakam. And as you get ready for the lottery tonight and build your hopes up and all of that, I think it's important to understand that it does not all come down to lottery luck. It might for some teams, for sure. If you're the Wizards, if you're the Jazz, man, oh man, things look grim if you do not land one of the potential franchise changers in this draft tonight. And look, it'll feel crappy in the moment if the Raptors, too, miss out on the chance to draft a franchise-changing talent. It always feels like crap when that happens. It feels like crap when you win the draft lottery and the number one pick is Andrea Bargnani. It's a missed opportunity. It's a squandered, once-in-a-lifetime jump up the lotto charts. It's a bummer. That said, you can do it other ways. And the Indiana Pacers right now are showing that you do not need to have ultimate lottery luck. You do not need to have, one of these, top 2 or 3 picks from day one in the door to help you become, a fringe contender, which, hey, if you can become a fringe contender, to me, that is an absolute home run of a team build. It takes a lot to become an inner circle contender. There are maybe 3 to 4 that you can credibly say are like, no doubt, that team is a disappointment if they don't win the championship level teams every year. And if you can get into that top 10 range, be in the mix every single year, as the Indiana Pacers are right now, as the Toronto Raptors were in the last decade, also without the help of high lottery picks, I think that's a beautiful thing to find. Like one of the most fun types of teams to root for. Consistent year in, year out, fringe contention, where you're in the position to get lucky and take advantage if weird NBA stuff happens. And weird NBA stuff happens all the time, including the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that looked like a surefire bet to make the conference finals, having themselves a rough go with injuries and a couple of bad nights and a bad collapse in game 2. And all of a sudden, they're on the brink of elimination. The Pacers are looking at their second potential conference finals in a row, all without extreme lottery luck. This is a team that has a top 15-ish guy in Tyrese Halliburton, a top 30 to 35-ish guy in Pascal Siakam, a bunch of really good basketball players filling out the rest of the roster, a shared identity that makes them into more than the sum of their parts. The Raptors build is different, of course. They don't have a Tyrese Halliburton type guy, but they do have Scotty Barnes, who, I know this was a bad year for him on the offensive end. He also took some pretty magnificent leaps defensively. And I still think like top 15 all NBA player is still within him in the role of like second guy on offense and lead guy on the defensive end. I still think that's there for him. You get that. You get a healthy Brandon Ingram, which fingers crossed he's healthy, but a healthy Brandon Ingram is a damn good basketball player, kind of that Siakam tier, top 30 to 35 guy with room to be better. If things break right and he really kind of, fits into what the Raptors are doing really well. You have a bunch of good players beyond that. Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, I think is a good player. He's a strange fit on a lot of teams, but he's a good player and can help you get through the regular season and get into a high seeding spot. All of that. Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Ochai Agbaji, a nice little stable of dudes at the two who I think, a couple of those guys can hit and become playoff rotation players down the line for you. You've got, of course, your pick coming in this summer, whether it's very high or if it's 7, 8, or 9, you add another guy to the mix. Like the Pacers, to me, like they're very aspirational to me in the way they've built their team. This is a team that, I think it's an attainable type of team build for the Raptors and very similar to things the Raptors have done before. This is a team that's built on balance, the Pacers, and I think the Raptors are very much trying to be built on balance as well. And just, again, more than the sum of your parts, all that stuff. I think, when it comes to just the way the Pacers have gone about building their team, it's opportunistic trades. It's drafting well later than the super high reaches of the draft. The best lottery luck they've gotten in their time with, running this team has been, Ben Mathurin at 7, Jarris Walker, I think at 7 as well. They haven't had crazy high picks. They've made smart trades. They've managed their assets incredibly well. The Raptors obviously have to do the asset management thing well and all of that to follow this path, but it's an attainable path. And frankly, these are very similar franchises in the way that they operate because neither is a free agent destination. Both teams are kind of, seemingly reticent normally to fully commit to like a long scale tank job rebuild. They try to build from the middle. They try to sustain success over time. And both of these franchises have had a lot of success doing this over the course of the last 15 years or so. You could argue that the Pacers and Raptors have been two of the most successful franchises in the Eastern Conference over the last 15 years. And, the Pacers have done it with multiple iterations. Obviously, the Raptors iteration lasted a very long time. There's an avenue here for this Raptors team as currently built. You add in whatever pick, you get this summer. And hey, maybe you get yourself that no-brainer top 15 guy with a Dylan Harper or Cooper Flagg. Wouldn't that be swell? Makes it all easier for you, for sure. But I think some nice preemptive lottery cope is to look at what the Pacers are. Look at what they've done with, again, not much in the way of super high picks. They got opportunistic by trading Domantas Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton. Obviously, those trades don't happen all the time, but the Raptors are constantly on the lookout, right? They are an opportunistic franchise. They're going to buy low when they feel like there's a buy low opportunity. Brandon Ingram being a very good example of this. And I think if you can look at the Pacers as sort of a build to try to replicate going forward, you're doing yourself a lot of favors. They know what they're doing. They're well managed, and they're doing it without your sort of no doubt top of the league, one of those 5 to 7 guys in any given time who makes you a no-brainer contender just by existing with a functional roster around him. That's not what these Pacers are. Halliburton's awesome. He's an all-NBA player probably, but he's not one of those guys. Pascal Siakam is awesome, but he's not one of those guys. They just do it with, again, a deep roster, a cohesive identity of how they want to play. The Raptors seem to have a pretty clear identity of how they want to play too, in terms of how the offense works, in terms of their high-pressure defense. Like, they have a very clear ethos to the way they want to play. It's a replicable model, and I think a model that not enough teams appreciate or tap into. I think building from the middle is cool. I think if you can do it, I mean, what a feather in your cap as a front office head. Like, if you can go and turn a team that's kind of middling into something awesome. And yeah, I just think what the Pacers have done here, I mean, in that sort of interregnum they had between the Victor Oladipo teams and the Tyrese Halliburton teams, like, yeah, they were kind of rough for a couple years, similar to how the Raptors have been. They never picked higher than 7th, of course, and yet they still managed to turn this thing around so quickly. And I think you're seeing it with the Raptors too. They're in the midst of doing that, right? The way the roster looks today versus what it looked like 18 months ago is night and day, and it's in a whole lot of a better place in terms of just overall talent available. And so, yeah, I'm looking at the Pacers as an aspirational case, a team that I think the Raptors can try to model here. And, again, maybe that falls short for some people. Well, they're Pacers, they're not going to win a championship, whatever. Like, hey, they might. Like, they could. If you get to the conference finals, you are in position to take advantage of weird stuff. If the Knicks beat the Celtics and clear the way, a Knicks-Pacers conference finals, I might take the Pacers in that series just because they have more guys to throw at the Knicks than the Knicks have to throw at the Pacers. And all of a sudden, you make it to a finals. We've seen it before here in Toronto. You can be not favored to win a championship. You get to the finals, anything can happen. Injuries are a thing. Availability is a thing the Pacers seem to do very well. That's a pathway that's viable to go and not only, have a lot of fun and have many, many years of being good and in the mix, but if you're in the mix long enough, eventually the mix is going to break right and it's going to have you come out on top. And so there's no guarantee either there, but the options, the outcomes are there on the table. And I think, just love the Pacers. Super cool team. Awesome story. If they make a second straight conference finals, bloody impressive. So happy for Pascal Siakam. And again, I think this is a model the Raptors can look at trying to replicate. Again, different team. They're not going to play this high-octane style that flows through Halliburton and his personality as a player necessarily. But there's a lot there to like. And we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. There's way more of me today. 6:30 again, the Locked On NBA Squad Show. I'll be going live during the lottery, reacting to the results as they come in. Then 7:30, Vivek, Jacob, and I will react to the lottery in full on the Raptors end of things and take some questions from you, the YouTube viewers, the freaks, the sickos, our dear pals. And so, yeah, you have that to look forward to later on as well. In the meantime, follow, subscribe, rate, review, check it out on YouTube, on all your favorite podcast apps, etc. On YouTube, there's an exclusive video from the Cutting Room Floor Friday show with myself and Rafael Barlow talking Noah Senge, if you want to check that out. And we'll leave it there. Do all your favorite lottery rituals, rub your Kyle Lowry championship bobbleheads for good luck, et cetera, et cetera. All of that. We'll see you a little later on today. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Ooh, buckets.